Hello, thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk about ADFS Proxy on BIG-IP version 13.1. This is a new feature in Access Policy Manager that enables us to replace a web application proxy server standing in front of an ADFS farm. This is because Access Policy Manager now supports the MS ADFS PIP protocol that enables us to establish a trust relationship with the ADFS farm and exchange the proper client certificates and header information. So before we jump into deploying the environment, let's go ahead and take a look at a standard ADFS architecture. So in a standard ADFS environment, you'd have Active Directory, you'd have a farm of ADFS servers that need to be load balanced. Internal users would go through this path. In the DMZ, you would have web application proxy servers, and external users would access them through some load balancing mechanism. This is because we don't want the external users to talk directly to the ADFS servers. Between the ADFS proxy and the ADFS servers, the web application proxies use the MS ADFS PIP protocol to communicate and establish that trust. So on a BIG-IP, it's a much simpler deployment. Both the web application proxy role and the load balancing role can coexist in the same place. In addition, because a BIG-IP is a firewall, it can actually serve clients from both zones. Or you can go ahead and split those and deploy them on an internal and an external set of BIG-IPs. It just depends on your environment. So let's go ahead and deploy this example. So what we can see here is we have a BIG-IP. It's blank. There's nothing deployed right here. We've imported an ADFS IAP template, and we've imported a couple of certificates that we're going to use. So here's our client. Let's go ahead and open up Chrome, and we'll try to access our claims application. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to access the application app.vlab.f5demo.com, and it looks like we're not reaching it. What's actually happening is we're getting there, and it's trying to redirect us to our ADFS environment, but it's not reaching it because we're pointed at a load balancing VIP that's not deployed. So let's go ahead and go deploy that. So we're going to select the ADFS template that we imported. Down here you can see we can get extra help if we need it. We're going to go ahead and leave it on no, and we can use basic or advanced. Basic is going to be just fine for right now. We're deploying on ADFS version 4 on server 2016, and we're deploying in front of ADFS, not ADFS proxy servers right now, because we're actually going to replace them. So next up, we're not going to replace the ADFS proxy yet, and we're not going to deploy APM yet. We're going to go ahead and say encrypted traffic is forwarded without decryption, so SSL pass-through right now for those internal users. For an IP address, we're going to go ahead and select this. The FQDN is the FQDN of our ADFS environment, so we're going to go ahead and plug that in. These are the addresses for our ADFS servers, so we're going to go ahead and add those in, and that's correct. So you can see that we could add more, or we could remove some as needed. So we are going to configure support for certificate authentication, so we're going to leave that yes, and we're going to let it deploy an advanced monitor to actually monitor if the Federation servers are online. So we'll go ahead and hit finished. Great, so we can see some of the monitors are already successful. Let's hit refresh again, and there we go. The monitors are successful. So let's go ahead and go back over to our client, and this time when we click the demo app, you can see that we immediately get access to that claims app, and it shows that we have an inside corporate network claim of true, so ADFS told our claims app that we're inside the corporate network, and we didn't have to authenticate apparently to ADFS. We actually did though. It was integrated Windows authentication was the method. So let's go ahead and close this. Let's go back over here, and we could leave this deployed and deploy an additional environment for our ADFS proxy on this same BIG-IP. In this case, we're going to go ahead and just convert this one to ADFS proxy replacement. So we'll click reconfigure, and we'll change the answers. So we're still going to deploy in front of ADFS, and we're going to change this SSL encryption question to SSL bridging. So we're going to let it create a new SSL profile, and we've already uploaded our certificate and key, so we're going to select those. We're going to answer, would you like to configure BIG-IP as an ADFS proxy with yes? And it wants us to provide credentials to establish trust. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to scroll down here. And now, because we're doing SSL bridging, we also need to set up what trusted CA for that certificate authentication. So we're going to go ahead and change that to this one that we've already uploaded from the internal CA, and we'll hit Finished now. We can see it's deployed through. Let's go ahead and give that a try. All right, so now we're going through the ADFS proxy, and you can see that we're not getting integrated Windows authentication. So let's go ahead and log in. And now we can see that we got in to the Claims app again, but this time inside corporate network is false, and the proxy is marked as APM. We've also got the external client IP listed here, and we can see we did Forms authentication instead of Windows authentication. Let's go ahead and do that one more time, but let's do certificate authentication this time. So this time we're going to click Sign In using an X.509 certificate. You can also make this the default by changing the settings on your ADFS server. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. Here you can see a certificate is being offered up. The user can select which one they want to send. If they have a lot of them, you can actually use Advertise Certificate Authority feature in LTM to go ahead and determine which ones should be presented to the user, only ones issued by a particular CA. So we're going to go ahead and select that. And we get in, and this time we can see certificate authentication was done. So let's talk about what to do next. Let's go ahead and close this. We can actually take it a step farther, and we can go to Reconfigure. We can add pre-authentication so that we actually authenticate the user before they ever get to talk to that ADFS server and get that ADFS logon page. So let's say, yes, provide secure authentication using APM. So down here, we're going to go ahead and let it create a new access profile. We're going to say create a new AAA server, so it'll be dc.f5demo.com, and that exists at 10.1.20.5 in this case. We're going to go ahead and create a new Active Directory monitor. So we're going to go ahead and say let's use user and user. And for the LDAP tree, this user exists in this one. And then we'll say for the FQDM for Active Directory, it's going to be f5demo.com. We're not going to set up Azure MFA. You can use any MFA provider you want. The IAP will deploy Azure MFA for you if you want. We're going to go ahead and leave the rest of these pieces the same, and we'll hit Finished. Great. So you can see it added an access policy in here. So let's go ahead and try that out now and see what that looks like. So we'll go ahead and go here. We get a basic APM logon page. This can be customized to look like anything you want. So we'll go ahead and log in with our credentials. And we get in again, and it's the same thing. Now you can see here it did Forms authentication. So what actually happened is APM authenticated the user out there in the DMZ, and then it went ahead and single signed on the user into ADFS in the background. So that way we were able to actually authenticate them and handle that and validate the user before even allowing them to talk to ADFS. So let's go ahead and recap. We've deployed that entire environment in just a couple of minutes. You can do additional things to add more security. You can add multi-factor auth or endpoint checks with APM, which is included in that same module. You can also use the Advanced Web App Firewall to add protection against bots, credential stuffing, brute force, and more. And you can even use the network firewall and DDoS protections that are available on the platform. Thanks for joining me today. As you can see, BigIP can help make your ADFS environment faster, smarter, and safer.